Hey everyone, so we have wrapped up our wood duck nest box season. The wood ducks are still on the lake, so you'll probably get updates as we see the babies around on the lake, but we're done with those nest boxes. But Dustin, you're still actively monitoring nest boxes, but it's in a different location, right?
Yeah, now is the true high season for nest box monitoring. The ducks are a little bit early, and what's interesting is all birds, rule of thumb, spend about 30 days developing in the egg and the nest. The wood ducks are unique because they spend all 30 days in the egg, they hatch, and they jump out the very next day. They spend very little time in the nest. But by contrast, the bluebirds and tree swallows spend about 2 weeks in the egg and then about 2 or 3 weeks in the nest, continuing to develop after they hatch because they have a much smaller body. They lay much smaller eggs. They have to make a trade-off. So that means the bluebirds have been already reproducing, and we've got some older bluebirds. And the tree swallows are really just hitting their stride. We usually get the first tree swallows to hatch around June 1st. So for the next couple weeks, it'll be all about egg count, hatchling count, and hopefully a successful fledge in our future.
You've never really walked us through how the nest boxes are set up out in the meadow where you run that program for the tree swallows and the bluebirds. So I'm going to get ready to pull this up on my screen. This is a Google satellite image, right, of where your nest boxes are located. Can you kind of walk us through, like, give us an overview of the location and kind of what we're looking at here on the screen?
Okay, so on this map, we've got an upper field on the right-hand side and a lower field. And our lake happens to be off this image over to the left-hand side. So when I hike up into this field, I come and I enter up here at the top. And on this field, the first year, I put 8 boxes to see if it would be successful. And it was wildly successful. And I learned that you can pair nest boxes together if you do so kind of deliberately and intelligently. But bluebirds, eastern bluebirds, do not tolerate other eastern bluebirds nesting in boxes near them. Tree swallows don't generally tolerate other tree swallows nesting in boxes near them. But those two species will tolerate one another. So once my first 8 boxes were successful, the following year, in 2016, I paired them up. So now there's a pair of boxes here and a pair of boxes here and so forth all the way down the field. And then I go across a trail through here and then work my way up this field. So when I go to visit, I use NestWatch best practices to never leave a dead-end trail to a nest box, to never visit during inclement weather or in the morning when egg laying time happens, and to visit very, very briefly to make for minimal interruption. And because I go twice a week, the birds in this field have kind of come to know and trust me. They're invested in these boxes. A quick check does not deter them from that investment, and they stay engaged. And over here in the summary, we can see I visit 16 boxes. 13 of them have active nesting attempts. I don't know the exact total egg count because sometimes the bird doesn't even, especially tree swallows, doesn't even leave the nest, and I don't get to see how many eggs are there. So I just quietly close the nest box back up and am on my way. But I know there's at least 20, and 3 of these, maybe 4, had the tree swallow on her eggs, and they lay at least 4, sometimes up to 7 eggs. So there could be as many as 48 eggs here, but I did not get to see them all in this check. So let's get to it.
That's a good mama.
It is a good mama.
Not get out of the way.
Yep. And we've had, this is 2 nests of 7 total bluebird eggs, 4 and 3 respectively, and 13 plus potentially 16 or 20 more tree swallow eggs. We currently have 7 young bluebirds that have already hatched, and none have fledged just yet as of the last check.
Okay. And you've had you haven't had any of the birds that we don't want to support busting in there.
I've had 1 interloping species that's not invasive, but I've had no competition from the invasive house sparrows this year, which is a victory all in of itself.
No, that's great. That's really, really cool.
All right, let's get into some actual nest box checks. All right, then first up is box number 1, in which I discovered 4 healthy, about 2-day-old bluebird babies. That's me whistling, which causes them to gape as if they're expecting food. So it's a quick little whistle just so I could help get a proper count. The second box, this is a tree swallow nest because it's nice and shallow with 4 eggs. This one is an interloping house wren nest. So a house wren is a native species. I can't do anything to disrupt it, and I would not. But they fill the heck out of this box up with
They
sticks.
sure do. How does she get in there?
She makes a little hole for herself up in by the entryway and a little tunnel.
I
So
can see it.
she would enter in over here and then make her way down. And the nest might be way down in here, but there's no way for us to tell.
Yeah, so you guys can't see the hole to the entrance because I'm blocking it over here. But it's over here. It's over here.
You can sort of see the daylight there.
Yeah.
But anyway, this is why the nest boxes are right in the center of the field, because house wrens don't like to be away from the tree line very much. So the placement of these boxes is specifically to deter house wrens. But this one made a run at this nest. It might or might not be using it. I can't tell, because not only do they fill a nest like crazy with sticks, they'll fill 3 or 4 nest sites and then only use one of them. So it could just be a faux nest. But box number 3 was for the house wren. The next one was a tree swallow that stayed on the nest and didn't move.
Are those her feathers?
They're not her feathers, so they gather their feathers from other birds and use them to feather the nest. And it can be really fun, actually, to toss some feathers up into the air when you're out in the field, and they'll grab them. They love it. As I was moving to the next one, I saw something interesting. We're going to zoom in on it right here. There was a deer right in the field.
Oh, look how beautiful she is.
And I was very suspicious that she might have had a fawn in the grass. I did a little looking around to see if I could find one, but if it was there, I did not find it.
Have you found a fawn in the field before?
I have literally happened upon a fawn a couple of times just in the grass near the boxes when I was going to do routine checks. This next box is just a started nest, so this one does not have an attempt yet. Here's a second tree swallow that stayed on her nest. I think there's a video of this one as well that just shows how sweet she was. A little bit nervous, so I didn't stay long, closed the door up. This shot is 3 bluebird babies. The next box, as you can see, is labeled number 7, is 5 tree swallow eggs. Then we had a third nest that had a tree swallow just incubating her eggs and not letting us. I'm pretty sure that it was at incubation stage based on my dates. They could have hatched, but it was a little bit early yet in the season for that. This one you can see has 6 tree swallow nests, again, nicely feathered with feathers from other birds. And then this is one of the last boxes. This box is 11 years old, but nicely covered with lichens and
Not
such.
too happy with
She
you.
wasn't too happy, so I very quickly turned off the camera and was on my way.
All right. And they stick around because you're there all the time checking, so they're acclimated to you.
Yeah, I mean, partly they want to. She doesn't have a great way to escape without flying right at me. She wants to protect her eggs and use her camouflage as best as possible. So I'll tell you, I've often had 1 or 2 tree swallows do that. I have never had 4 of them on a single day. I'll do that. So maybe they are used to me this year. I don't know. I don't like to anthropomorphize, but you never know.
Yeah. Yeah. I know you don't. And you would say if people see nest boxes that they're not managing, they should leave them alone. Right? Okay. All right. So, okay. Now that we understand the setup and you've walked us through what the update is, can you, for anybody who might not be entirely familiar, kind of give us just a little overview on these 2 birds to kind of round things out?
Sure. They're both cavity nesters, and humans over the years have done too good a job of removing dead trees without respect of what birds need to use the cavities that are in those dead trees. So it's really important to create cavities that help replace all of the ones that get knocked down in suburban yards and on developed lake shores and things like that. So eastern bluebirds, they depend entirely on nest cavities made by other birds or humans. They cannot create their own nest cavities. So they use old holes from woodpeckers and nest boxes and natural depressions inside of rotted trees, things like that. So it's really important. The male eastern bluebird selects the nest site, and then the female settles in and helps with the nest building. And then they share the work, but the female does a little more of the incubation work. And they both feed equally once the hatchlings are born. And even bluebird babies from this year will stick around with their parents. And if there's a second clutch, the babies will even help feed their brothers and sisters from the second group. So they start to learn parenting behavior even before they're like a month or two old.
Interesting.
Pretty cool. Now, next is the tree swallow. Also a cavity nester, also cannot make their own cavities, so they have to rely on woodpeckers and other birds or natural cavities that happen in trees. They only ever lay one clutch per year, and they often lay more eggs. So it was hard to see in that video, but I have two styles of boxes. One is about a 4x4 footprint, perfect for bluebirds. And the other one is 5x5 inches, better for tree swallows because they lay more babies and they make more of a mess. The bluebirds are really neat. They carry the fecal sac right out of the nest so it stays clean, but tree swallow babies poop right in the nest, especially at the end before they fledge. And they're also in the nest box longer. Tree swallows stay in the nest for about 21 days after fledge, 21, 22 days, after hatching, because they need to be able to fully fly and catch and eat birds on the wing right when they leave the nest. So bluebirds will leave and go to a tree and be fed for a few more days in the tree, but the tree swallows, they fly out, and even if they're being fed by the parents, they're being fed mid-air and always eating on the wing. So they spend a little more time developing so that they're truly like very good flyers the minute they leave the nest.
That's really amazing.
Yep.
I can't imagine.
And their eggs are pure white, whereas the bluebird eggs are blue. And we saw all those feathers in the tree swallow nest. They feather their nest with feathers from other birds that they've collected. So there were turkey feathers in there and hawk feathers and all kinds of stuff, but those are not their own feathers. And a really fun game if you're around tree swallow boxes during high nesting season is to bring a pocket full of feathers from an old pillow or something and toss them up in the air, and the tree swallows go crazy trying to grab them.
All right, well, that's the update. But before we move on, what can we expect over the next couple of weeks? Because we'll certainly be giving more updates on our channel. But
yeah.
What should people expect?
This is the high season. So bluebirds are already fledging. We should have some baby bluebird pictures, hopefully, if I can find them. But they'll definitely be fledging. Definition of success is one bird successfully fledged from each clutch.
Okay.
Now, we had some cold, rainy weather here, so it has been challenging for them the last week or so, but I'm confident. I think we'll see some successful fledges to report. And the tree swallows right now, you saw how many eggs they have and they're actively incubating. I have not seen a new tree swallow hatchling just yet, but I suspect the next visit I go, we'll see them, so stay tuned. And then lastly, don't forget to subscribe to get continued updates. And in addition to these long form videos, we'll post some shorter videos in the in-between time so you can see those developments.
So that is all for today's episode. But before we head off on our next adventure, this is your reminder that you can find Dustin's photography and links to all of our content channels at hikeandhearth.com.
And be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us at Hearth Birding on Instagram to keep up with everything we're doing out in the field.
Absolutely. Okay, Dustin, I think it's about that time. Are you ready to send us and our viewers off on our next adventure?
I sure am. As always, friends, keep your eyes on the skies and your hearts in the wild.
Bye, everyone.